Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm actually really excited to shoot the video because I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. Today's video is going to be me reacting to popular Indian stereotypes and then giving my 2 cents about them, like my thoughts and stuff. I'm just going to read them out and then we're just going to see how I react. Also, if you are new to my channel and you like videos like this where it's holistic living, health and wellness, but then random spurts of culture and real talk, then go ahead and subscribe to my channel. And yeah, let's get right into it. All right, so the first one is that Indians only eat curry. This one is just so interesting for me. I have a few things to say about this. First of all, what the is curry? Growing up, when we referred to curry, curry was synonymous to gravy. So if we were eating chicken curry, that means that we weren't eating dry chicken. The chicken was in some sort of gravy that you could serve over rice. Curry in my household, and honestly with all my Indian friends, it's not referred to as a flavor. I think that's been like appropriated by the West because there's honestly billions, I would even argue, different types of Indian food that I feel like the British and Westerners just can't wrap their mind about it. So they heard curry and they're like, let's just call all things Indian curry. But yeah, curry isn't really a dish or flavor. Even if you look up the definition on Google, I'm pretty sure a non-Indian created that definition. But yeah. All right, on to the next one. Indians speak Hindu. Again, I just think this one's an uneducated one. Hindu is a religion, Hindi is a language. I honestly have nothing more to say about that one. All right, the next one is that all marriages are arranged by the Indian parents. Okay, so I personally do think that stereotypes do stem from some truth, but the reason that they're called stereotypes, in my opinion, is that they're exaggerated, they're taken out of context, and then they're used as the only identifier for that culture or group of people. So with all that being said, arranged marriage is definitely a thing. I feel like a lot of Indians don't even call it arranged marriage. It's just like that's marriage, and then there's love marriage where it's like you find the person on your own. But here's my issue with this. I feel like a lot of people think that it's forced, and while that might be true just like anywhere else in the world, a lot of times, again, from good educated families, it's both consensual. Arranged just literally means that someone is introducing you to the boy or girl, and then that way you don't have to do the work. So I guess my thing with that is like, what's the difference with like dating apps versus arranged marriage? I personally think that dating apps have Indian culture to thank, because the whole idea of matching you based off of someone who you're similar to, similar background, faith, interests, it's a very South Asian, Eastern culture ideology. So I always have this comment where it's like the second that something is common in the West, it's considered normal, cool, no questions asked. The second that people are like, oh, this is what happens in the East, like that's weird, and it's like not really, especially since most arranged marriages, the people that are introducing you to that person are your parents or someone that you trust, you know what I mean? All right, the next one is that India is unsafe. Oh Lord, okay, where do I begin with this? First of all, everywhere is unsafe, and to just pinpoint a country and label it as unsafe, therefore saying that like there's no part of it that's safe, is really ridiculous to me. And I feel like the reason that the stereotype exists is because there's this global effort, right, to make sure that Eurocentric Western countries are looked at as superior. I mean, it helps them in a lot of ways. It brings them more tourists, it brings them more business, it brings them more partnerships. It also allows for them to be viewed in the world as better and good. So it definitely has like a long-lasting effect. So to deem a country as unsafe is so terrible and demoralizing and demeaning in every aspect. And India is a huge country. I feel like people don't understand that India is huge. It's like the size of the States, but like vertical and then some, you know what I mean? And on top of that, there's like 1.7 billion people in the country. And just to give context, the population of the United States is only about 8% of the population of India. So like, I don't know, like obviously there's going to be some neighborhoods that are unsafe and some that are safer, but that's like anywhere in the world, you know what I mean? Like no one ever talks about Paris and how they have like the most women aimed victims. They have the most hate crimes towards people of color and people of different faiths, because it's a European country and it works in their favor to fantasize and luxurize that area, because then people will always look at, you know, countries like India as inferior. So that one's just really annoying to me, honestly. All right, the next one is that Indian women are subordinate to men. Let's be honest. Tell me one country that isn't like that right now. You know, I feel like New Zealand is probably up there. But honestly, like most countries, we're living in a patriarchy. I feel like if anything, I've actually met so many empowering Indian women, and I've seen so many on social media and just, you know, throughout the course of history. India also has had, you know, women leaders as our prime minister, as our president. So, I mean, the United States hasn't. And not that this is like a comparison thing, but again, I feel like these stereotypes are just used to make different cultures look inferior and therefore almost justify the injustices that are done to people, you know, from that group, whether that's misrepresentation, hate crimes, and things like that. I am an Indian woman. My mom is an Indian woman, and I have many aunts, and honestly, they're all boss. They're all amazing. They all run their household. They're all really educated, very independent. They had the same access to education as kids. But again, like in terms of like femininity and that being deemed as inferior, I think that's a global issue. I don't think that's Indian specific. Obviously there's intersectionalities where, you know, being an Indian woman comes with its own personal set of problems, but so does being an American woman. Being an American woman comes with so many issues. So it's not really, it's like comparing apples to oranges, you know? All right, the next one is that Indian people cannot speak good English. I'm Indian. Is my English improper? It's actually funny. I actually think that this one is the one that always shocked me as a child, because my grandmother was an English professor. Both my parents are highly educated. My family's very educated. I would actually say I'm like the least formally educated person in my whole family. And on top of that, I think a lot of people don't know that English is the national language of India, because we were taken over by the Brits. So we have a lot of English medium schools. English schooling and education is very, very common in India. But I mean, just like any other country, there's, you know, the rich cities that have access to that. I feel like a lot of people in the States don't actually have a good hold of their English tongue, including myself. I feel like I actually feel like I speak better English when I'm around like certain cousins, when I'm around certain friends, and when I'm around certain family members, because their English is heightened. Now, if this stereotype is meant to attack on someone's accent, that's a whole different ball game. I just don't understand why accents are still being attacked. Like, why would people, like, even within the States, like if you're from New York versus California versus the Midwest versus Florida versus Texas, like there's so many different accents. I don't understand why accents are still a thing in terms of why they're demonized and they're made fun of. Like, I don't know, just weird to me. The next stereotype is that Indians are poor. I think that the stereotype comes from the fact that there's a lot of poverty in India, but then again, there's 1.7 billion people in India. So if you're gonna look at it proportionately, a lot of poor people in like Greece and other countries all over the world. So I think for this one, a lot of times it's because of representation. A lot of times when you see movies, they only highlight, you know, the slums and the poverty in India, and they don't. Sorry, give me 1 second. There's a truck coming. And they don't highlight the good. And I feel like that's one of the things I notice as an American person as well, is in Hollywood movies and just American representation, they represent America really, really well. Like they only highlight the good. They sometimes exaggerate it a lot. So people forget about all of the issues that are literally living and breathing in the States, whether that's racism, whether that's economically, whether that's a poverty issue, women's rights, representation, you know, the hunger issue, the homeless issue. A lot of people don't even think about it because they don't see it being represented. Whereas when you look at, you know, how Indians have been represented in Hollywood and in mainstream media, you're highlighting, you know, only the problem. So that's what people think of. So I feel like for this specific stereotypes that Indians are poor, it just really is very obvious that these stereotypes come solely from representation. I mean, oh my god, this next one is so annoying. Bollywood is all silly dance and music and childish and corny. This one is just highly insulting, honestly, because here's the thing. It's so crazy how when another culture does something really well, whether it's dancing, music, telling a story in a different way, it's made fun of because it's not the norm in the States or in the West. It's crazy how, you know, you don't really hear a lot of people making fun of Hollywood for always talking about sex, always talking about drugs, always having, in my eyes, very corny and cheesy jokes. Like, I feel like a lot of the humor in Hollywood is so sexual, and like, if it's not sexual, then they don't find anything funny. Whereas I actually personally love South Asian humor. Like, there's so much talent within the South Asian diaspora. I feel like our humor is so unique. It's so witty. Like, it takes so much talent to come up with the things. And then bringing it back to Bollywood, I feel like if roles were reversed and let's say Hollywood had a lot of dances in their movies, they would literally look at Bollywood and be like, wait, so you guys don't dance? You guys don't have music? Your songs don't come from movies? You know what I mean? I feel like just because it's not a Western thing, people always poke fun at it. And Bollywood is the largest movie industry in the world. I'm talking views and I'm talking money, honey. So we're shooting out like 3 to 5 times the movies that Hollywood shoots out. So again, like, proportionately, yes, there's going to be more cheesy and corny movies, but then there's also going to be equally really, you know, well-directed movies where the actors did a phenomenal job, the storyline is unique and empowering, or whatever the case is. So, you know, I think it's the same thing when it comes to like K-drama. I feel like K-drama is becoming so popular here in the States that it's like a cool thing if you're like into Korean skincare, if you're into K-drama, if you're into K-pop. And that just is annoying to me because K-drama, K-pop, Korean skincare has always been amazing. Like, why does it have to be deemed as cool just because it becomes mainstream in the States? And this also goes for Indian culture, be it yoga, meditation, being vegan. These are things that are very Indian, you know? They come from our culture. Tea, chai, you know, affirmations, mindfulness, all of these words are coming from Hinduism and coming from Indian culture. So it's just so interesting to witness cultural appropriation in my lifetime with my culture, and just seeing how it's so cool to go to a 7 a.m. yoga class on a Saturday because it's just, you know, whatever, which, yeah, I don't know. It's really interesting. All right, the last one that I'm going to touch on, I know there's many more, but these are just the handful that I chose for today. And that is that all Indians are doctors and in IT. Again, I think that it just has to do with representation. I do think that the model minority myth has a lot to do here in terms of putting a certain culture as either superior or as non-problematic. That way, the majority can easily compare other minorities to Indians and be like, but Indians aren't, you know, killing each other, whatever. And I feel like it's like a defense mechanism and just a way to pit people against each other, if that makes sense. And then my second thing on this too is, again, we have the largest movie industry. We have a booming music industry. Like, I feel like the reason you don't hear about it in the States is because we don't need the Western world. Like, we don't, you know, like, we don't need views from Europe, views from America, views from Canada to like get the ball rolling. Like, the ball's been rolling. We have women out here getting the Miss World title, the Miss Universe title, winning science awards, like landing on Mars before the US ever did, and just all of these amazing things that I feel like there's a reason that a lot of the West holds on to these stereotypes, because it really diminishes all of the stuff that, you know, Indians around the world are doing, all of the success that we've had. Like, people forget about that. People forget like how many South Asians are out here like killing the game, because it's convenient for them to forget, because it's hard to hold on to these stereotypes if you actually are educated and you're aware of the truth. And that's why I feel like a lot of people, especially in the West, do hold on to these stereotypes, because it's easier to bully someone when you ignore the truth. It's easier to put down a culture when you ignore the truth. It's easier to justify wrongdoings to a specific group of people when you ignore the truth and the reality. So that's just my hot take. Thank you so much for watching my video today. This was just my hot take. This was actually really fun to do. I actually thought that it would be more funny, but I feel like I ended up getting kind of serious on all of them. And I feel like because they aren't funny to me, like, I don't know, like, it's not funny to me when people make fun of the Indian accent. It's not funny to me when people say that Indians own 7-Elevens in terms of like that's all that they can do. It's not funny to me. You know, there are some stereotypes that I will say are funny in terms of like Indians are cheap. You know, honestly, there's a lot of truth to that, but then people also will ignore the fact that Indians are also like financially pretty well off. That's a very global like norm when it comes to Indians. They know what to do with their money, they know how to spend their money, and they know for the most part how to not fall into debt. So I feel like some stereotypes, like when I give like my reaction, like they can be funny, but honestly, like this just wasn't funny. This to me was just like, I get why they exist, and they exist because it's just easier for them to make Indians look inferior when you have stereotypes like this floating around. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. This is something super new for me. Normally I post about health, wellness, and like holistic living and all of that stuff, but honestly I feel like this video kind of fits into that, because I think part of being like healthy and living a holistic life is being able to be human and being able to talk about real topics and have healthy conversations. Health to me is not just reduced down to diet and fitness. It's so much more than that. It's the conversations that you have at home, it's the relationships that you have with people and yourself. So to me, this video is in a way kind of fitting. So as I said, if you like this video, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. I really appreciate you all for watching today, and if you like this video and you want to see more videos like this, then please let me know in the comments down below. All right, love you all so much. Have a great one. Bye.